Welcome to episode 35 of the Austin Downbeat. I'm Kat, your host. I have a great show for you today, closing out the month of November and getting close to closing out the year. It's been a wonderful year. So thank you so much for all of your support. Be sure to subscribe. I hate asking, but it is kind of important. So you know how it goes. The rundown for today, let's start because I have an amazing guest and it's a nice, meaty interview. So I want you to have time to watch that. So it's a lot happening this week. Feels like everybody's playing out, which is great. Tuesday, tonight, the 29th, Andrea McGee is at Waterloo Records. Tomorrow, Love and Chaos is playing at Music on Main Street Plaza. Low Cash is at the Hot Spot. Thursday, December 1st already, Brittany Lobas and her duo partner Garrett J. Brown are called the Petticoat Five, and they're playing at Hut's Hamburgers. The Irons band is at Empire Control Room. Bonnie Whitmore is doing her thing up in the gallery at the Continental Club. Friday on the 2nd of December, are you ready? So there's a couple big people playing at ACL Live Moody Theater. Elvis Costello, Charlie Sexton, and Barbara Nesbitt, our pal, is going to play prior to that. So that's pretty cool. The big gun show is playing at the Little Longhorn Saloon. Asleep at the Wheel is playing at Trail of Lights. I believe Trail of Lights starts on the 2nd. Like I said, Charlie Sexton is playing at the ACL Live Moody Theater, and the Reverent Few are at Angel's Ice House. That's up on 71. Great place to take the family. Primo the Alien is at Empire Control Room. Jeremy Nail is at the Black Sparrow Music Parlor. Okay, that's Friday. Saturday, Mandy Rowden is at Celis Brewery. She's been on the show. Scott Collins, he was just on at Lost Pines Art Center. Joe James is playing the Black Fret Ball. And Suede, I love Suede, they're at Buck's Backyard. Sunday, the 4th of December, the Resentments do their thing at Saxon Pub. And my guest today is in the Resentments when he's in town. He plays with them, and that's Jeff Plankenhorn. So be sure to stop by the Saxon Pub this coming Sunday. The Selfless Lovers, they are so great, and they're going to come on the show. Central Machine Works, they're so much fun. And last but not least, Monday night residencies. You have El Mercado South, you have Monday Night Supper Club. I'm hoping Ben Jones is back. He was supposed to be back this week. I don't think he is yet, but you have Ben Jones, Barbara Nesbitt, and Pat Byrne. Unless Ben's not back, then they'll have a guest. You have Bob Schneider's Lonely Land at Saxon Pub and Dale Watson at Continental Club. That does it for the rundown. All right, I'm just going to talk briefly about my guest today so you can jump right into the conversation. Jeff Plankenhorn is my guest, and I've been looking forward to getting a chance to talk to him. We've been trying to get this scheduled for a long time, and we finally did it. Jeff has made great use of his whole life, really, but the last 6 years of being a solo artist, I feel like he has really made good use of that time. We have a fun conversation, a nice, long, meaty conversation about all kinds of things. He's just really fun to listen to. And he was able to connect with me all the way from Vancouver Island in Canada. And while having an interview with me, also ordering pizza for his wife and 90-something-year-old grandmother upstairs. Precious. Anyway, we talk about so many things, and I'm a big fan of his. So be sure to watch our conversation, and also just reiterate, he is doing some surprise Texas dates the 1st through the 4th of December. So it's coming up. This is perfect time for you to be seeing this. And if you're here in Austin, be sure to stop by the Saxon Pub on Sunday, the 4th, because he'll be sitting in with the Resentments that night. Enjoy my conversation with the wonderful Jeff Plankenhorn. Such a delight. Jeff, thanks for coming on. And here he is. All right. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Welcome, Jeff Plankenhorn. It's such a pleasure to have you on the show.
It's very nice to be here. A little bit of a long time coming. We've kind of wanted to do this for a while, so
Yes, we did. I think originally I wanted to do you and Scrappy because you guys
mm,
went on a little tour together.
across the
And
southeast, yeah, we did back in May.
was that May?
It was
Gee,
May.
is the
But I
Earth
mean,
spinning faster?
everything's going faster. Everything's in just this weird sort of flux anyway,
Yeah.
especially with anything related to the music business. Very
Yeah.
much in flux.
What do you mean by that?
Well, you go to one club that you used to play a lot in City X, and it's like everything is back to normal, and everything is like, oh, there's the people that I know.
Mm.
This is the place that I played. We have the same crowd. And then you go to the next place, and it's dead. And like all of a sudden, people have just stopped going to that place,
Mm.
and it's not age, and it's not geographical. It's just random to me.
Huh.
For the most part, most places I go are kind of back. You'll see people with masks,
Yeah.
and occasionally, and it's a little bit more like it's always been in Japan. Like
Mm.
whenever I would go to Japan, I would, people would see me in pictures, and they'd be like, "Why is everybody sick?" And I like, no, no, no. They put on a mask because they just want to be polite, and if they're feeling sick, they don't want you to get sick, so they wear a mask. It's very polite. It's very
Right.
neighborly. It's a neighborly thing to do,
Yeah, it's
and
respectful. Hmm.
it's just that's all it is. And so I still see some people with that kind of thing, and although I have heard that it is a little bit preventative, like if you're worried about it, or I mean, especially if you're uh, immune compromised,
Yeah,
how do you say it?
immunosuppressed. Yeah.
Immuno, yes, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, one of the other struggles is everybody is out trying to get back on the road
Mm.
because they haven't been
Hmm.
all at once.
Hmm.
So it used to be like, well, there'd be this many people out on the road, but this many people were making records, and every single year the amount of people that do this for a living gets somewhat exponentially bigger.
Mm.
I on my blog sometimes, my newsletter, I kind of turned back into a blog like in the last 6 months because
Mhm.
people kind of missed the writing side of it, and so I finally got back into it. And I wrote one blog. It was called "Is It Still Cool to Be a Guitar Player?" Which it is, absolutely.
Yeah.
But you get to a point where you're weirded out by the reaction when you tell people you're a musician for a living. They're like,
Mm.
"Oh yeah." And it used to be this incredible, kind of elite club. I was like one of three people who really played guitar well in my high school, and it was a big high school.
Mm.
And now everybody plays, and they're good. Like, I think a lot of people my age will be like, "Oh, those kids on TikTok, they get all curmudgeon about it, and they stink." And I'm like, "No, they
No, they
don't.
don't.
They really don't. They're really good. They got a lot of time to practice, and they got YouTube, and they are good."
Yeah.
And you'll see a lot of bad stuff, but you'll see a lot of good stuff too. So, it's a lot of competition, but
Yeah.
luckily I'm somewhat grandfathered in,
Yeah,
I
I would
guess.
say. I mean, how long have you been? Well, I mean, let's go back a little bit. Where are you from? Where are you from? Where do you come
Or,
from?
yeah, exactly. Born in Ohio, raised in Ohio and Michigan, did a
Okay.
very short stint in Nashville, moved to Austin in 2000 at the urging of Ray Wiley Hubbard. 16 years of being a side person in Austin and surrounding areas to some really, really great people. And then
Yeah.
in 2016, I got a song that started to get played on a lot of Americana radio. And I took the step and just went solo. So my solo career is like basically 6 years old.
Mm.
Um, but it works somehow amazingly. It's
Yeah,
working.
it's interesting. I was listening to Soulslide
Mm.
first because I look at albums and EPs as really as a collection, and whether or not it's a grouping of songs from a specific time, I feel like there's usually intention involved in setting.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully. So the thing that kept coming to mind is that there seems to be a before and after in your life.
Mm.
Is so
Yeah.
when I say before and after, what's the first thing that comes into your mind? I
Well,
don't know.
it's dual. It's actually kind of triple actually. It's getting married, right before that getting sober, and kind of in the middle, it's kind of like sober, marriage, and then solo career. And when I decided to go solo, I pretty much stopped being a side person because it's kind of a hard thing to get out from under.
I
People
bet.
still to this day say, "Oh, well, he's known for playing with so and so and playing with so and so," and most of the people who come to my shows don't know that I was a sideman.
Yeah.
Most of them don't. But people in the business love to say, "Oh, he used to play with Joe Ely," or "Oh, he used to play with Bob Schneider," or "Oh, he used to play with Ruthie Foster," or whatever. Even if I did short stints with them,
Yeah.
Bob was 5 years, Joe was 5 years, Ray Wiley, Slade, all these people, Liza Gilkison. Um, so it's a hard thing to get out from under. I'd say that those three things all kind of came around the same time, and a lot of the songs on Soulslide are kind of redemptive, and about, trying to, make up for this and that.
Mhm.
And a lot of the songs, kind of leaning from there into Sleeping Dogs, are kind of being okay with where you've gotten, and kind of like being cool with it, and kind
Yeah,
of
and almost
feeling like,
deserving, like you've earned it.
yeah, you just kind of feel like,
Yeah.
I have a joke about one of the songs, I Don't Know Anything. And the joke is this: it's like, when I was younger, I really thought I knew everything, and then I got to a point where one day I just really felt that I was just like, I don't know anything. And then I got to a point a little bit later than that where I was like, I don't know anything, and I'm cool with that. It's just like the weight's been lifted, and that's fine.
Yeah. The jig is up. I don't have to pretend or be
No,
any.
no. And luckily, my mask is more on now than it is when I'm playing. I'm
Hmm.
much more myself when I'm up on stage. I'm much more comfortable there than anywhere else.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Why
It
is
just
that?
feels more like me. I don't know, because I've done it my whole life. My first experience singing was 7 years old. I was a boy soprano. I did commercials and sang at, Major League Baseball games. And by the time I was 10, and didn't really start playing guitar too much. I started at 10, but I didn't really start until my voice changed. And then boom, everything just kind of switched to that.
Mm.
There's never been a time I didn't play music, and it's what I've done my whole life for a living. I
Wow.
only had I had a short stint when I moved to Nashville where I had to do some data entry for a summer, and then I did one summer in college where I waited tables for 35 hours a week and then did data entry for 40. And that
Oh,
was so I could pay for my second year in college.
right.
Other than that, I've always been a musician. I've been lucky. I've never had to do anything else.
Well, then I suppose that makes sense how you would feel probably more comfortable up there because you've really, um, I mean, a lot of people identify, not that it's probably healthy in most professions, but, we do tend in this country at least. I don't know how Canada is, but, but, we live to work and we really identify ourselves with our jobs. And, we ask little kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? As if happy isn't a good
Is
enough
somehow
answer.
connected to that. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
so in a way, it's kind of like that is so awesome that when you're at work, you are your happiest.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that really kind of flips our whole thing on its head and makes you think, you know?
Well, it's a lucky thing. And my wife, who I probably talk about way too much, it's
Shout
probably,
out.
it's a little bit annoying, I'm sure, with my friends. They're like, we know, you love your wife. she's a gardener and a horticulturalist, and done it her whole life,
Mm.
and you know 30 years experience, and worked for the city, won a couple of national awards in Canada. She'll never say that, but it's true. That's her art, and she's not happy. I mean, we're both happier when we're at work than pretty much anywhere else. We both
Hmm.
really, really love what we do, and I find what she does so fascinating. And I love being hanging around gardeners,
Mm.
because musicians, we pretty much want to talk about ourselves all the time and what we're doing. Well, how you doing, Jeff? Well, I'm working on this record, and oh, I just got done doing this, and it's like, no, I just asked how you were doing, and like, and
Yeah.
and they actually like, not that everyone I play with is shallow, but as a whole, people are often like, check out me, check out me, check out what I'm doing. So I love
Mhm.
going and like, I love sneaking into my wife's Christmas parties with, like, or holiday things with the
Mhm.
work people, because gardeners are cool. They're just like, I mean, and I gotta hang out with somebody who doesn't play music. Otherwise, all I'm gonna write about is the road and music.
Mm.
I
Mhm.
have to hang out with people that do other things,
For
or I
sure.
just get really bored writing wise. I don't have stories, and I don't have emotions that are not just what I feel.
Yeah, so then you get inspired then by listening to gardeners talk at a Christmas party, or does
Oh,
it
totally.
spin off something? It just sort of flexes different muscles and shows you different things then. That's cool.
Yeah, everything. The writers that I look up to, when I finally get to meet them, or I finally get to hang out with them, or if I'm lucky enough to work with them, I find that their radar is up all the time.
Hmm.
You know, and my
Sure.
radar for writing was not up all the time when I was a side person. It's a much different gig. It's a
Hmm.
much different set of responsibilities. Once I started doing this side of it for a living, my radar for, ooh, I better write that down before I forget it. Just,
Yeah.
I mean, it went from 0 to 10 just like that,
Yeah.
Um, and I try to be aware. I mean, that's why I got a lot of nature, and there's like a couple songs on Sleeping Dogs and on my EP. Definitely about living on Vancouver Island has been a huge. I mean, I grew up in a steel town in Ohio.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever seen Shawshank Redemption?
Well, I was born in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Oh, then Shawshank Redemption
Yeah.
was that's our prison in
Right.
Mansfield.
Yeah.
So Erie and Mansfield are really close.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Very
just
blue collar.
Rust Belt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I get
So
it.
living on a place like Vancouver Island is like, it's an adventure for me all the time.
Yeah. When do you find yourself, you know, do you still find yourself sort of getting surprised by, inspiration or something coming to you at this point? Or, I
Yeah.
mean, I would
Oh
hope that
yeah.
the journey kind of always stays really fresh for you.
Yeah. I mean, I get blocked like anybody else. But uh I'm very, very open to, I don't have one set way that I write,
Oh,
and I write
good.
with lots and lots and lots of people, and I try many, many, many different things. I don't care how I get it.
Oh, good.
I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes, a lot of people think that it's just a thunderbolt. And it's
Mm.
the way I call it. And it's pretty rare that that happens. It's great when it does. A lot of times it's something really great, um, or strong. Usually you don't get the thunderbolt thing and then it's like something you throw away. Usually you get the thunderbolt when it's something really good.
Hmm.
But mentioning Scrappy again, he kind of talked me into, I had this long drive and I said I needed something. He said, "Oh, you should get the Bruce Springsteen book on tape, Born to Run." And I was like, "Oh, Bruce Springsteen. I like Bruce. That'd be cool." And then he said, "No, no, no. Bruce narrates it, so you should get it." So I had an 8-hour drive. I got through about, I don't know, 2/3 of it, but about halfway through is really good. And I'm not usually into that kind of. I don't read a lot of books on music. I try to just live my life and don't be too influenced by other people and how they do it.
Yeah.
But he had an entire chapter on how he wrote the song Born to Run and how it took him a year. And that he had so much. You think of people like Bruce Springsteen or these mega, writers or stars or whatever as they have some sort of a gift. And it was more like, I have this idea for a song and I have to make it great. And I know it's going to be the album and I know it's going to be my breakout. So,
Mm.
and all of the different phases that he went through, trying it like a blues tune, trying it like this, trying it this way. That makes me think even more that I'm right in, or that it works for me. And who gives a crap? Like, I don't. I'll start with a guitar. I'll start with a piano. I'll start singing in the shower. I'll start walking in the woods with nothing. I'll sing into my phone when I'm, on a drive or something like that. I'll do a voice memo. I'll write on a napkin.
Hmm.
I don't
Yeah,
care as
don't
long as
limit
I get a
yourself.
song. No way.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you write a lot with Scrappy? Scrappy is like, I want to get him on this show because he's such a mysterious kind of guy because he's not on
Oh, he's
social media.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I like to think of him as a bit of a bohemian. He was the guy that when I moved to Texas, Ray Wiley took me to see the Resentments, and I wasn't in the Resentments back then. It wasn't until, 16 years later or 15 years later I got in there. And oh, maybe only 12. Anyway, numbers. Uh Scrappy was the guy I saw and I was like, "Oh, that's what I want to do."
Mm.
Because I wasn't ready to be a solo artist, and I saw Scrappy and I was like, he never plays too much,
Hmm.
and he just plays the right thing, and he also is a great side man, and he's also a great writer, and he's also a great front man. And I was like, that's the guy. And to
Hmm.
have him kind of go from mentor to bandmate, it's still kind of humbling, and I'm still a little bit, dare I say, man crush. I got a little bit of that. I mean, to the point where like it's like, okay, Jeff, I know.
Calm
Thanks.
down.
You know what I mean? And it's like the Spike and the little dog behind him going, come on, you want to play? Uh, and it's probably not that bad, but it feels that way sometimes. I've written with Scrappy. Of the people that I've written with, a good portion. He's probably not the person I've written the most with, but really close.
Mhm.
And that's a good example too. We'll write like together in a room with a legal pad. We'll write shooting texts back and forth and voice memos. One
Mm.
time we wrote a song when I was driving from Vancouver to Seattle, and I had this song, and I just really, really wanted to fix it, and I felt urgency. And so I called him and I said, "We need to finish this song." And he said, "Okay, well, when do you get back?" And I said, "No, can we do it
Now.
now?" And he's like, "Okay." And so he got his piece of paper out and stuff, and we just shot stuff back and forth while I was driving, and we finished it before I got to Seattle, and it's still the way we play that song, and it's a song I love doing.
Which one is it?
It's called Maybe It's Not Too Late. I have, unfortunately, through the lockdowns, I did make one EP, but most of my stuff is on Patreon, patreon.com/Jeff Plankenhorn.
Yeah.
I'm able to put out music every single month. I really love it. Can we
Mhm.
swear? It's the shit.
Yes.
Okay, it's the
Yeah.
shit. And I love it because my friends, family, fans, they give me feedback. I get to try stuff out. Maybe I try out a
Mm.
producer. Maybe I go somewhere and record something. Every month is very different.
Mm.
All sorts of different people get involved, and I don't have to wait until I have $30,000 to make another record. You know, it's
Yeah.
wonderful. So a lot of those songs end up on there.
Nice.
But I have so many now that like now whenever somebody calls me and they're like, "Hey, I want to co-write," we get on the Zoom and I go, "Okay, what do you need?"
Hmm.
And they're like, "What you mean?" And I was like, "Well, like I have so many songs in the bank. I'm ready to make an album. I'm trying to make one in April with a guy named Colin Linden, and uh, he's already into the music. We're just trying to find dates, and then I, of course, have to find the money,
Hmm.
but the funding, as it were.
Hmm.
Uh, but I have so much stuff in the banks that I write kind of for whatever they need. If they're like, "Yeah, I just don't have anything in my set that's fast," almost always they say, "I need something up," you know.
Yeah.
'Cause everybody wants to write when they're morose.
Yeah.
Nobody wants. I actually write a lot now when I'm up.
Oh, really? I was gonna, because
It's like,
I feel like that's a pretty universal thing, drama and chaos and pain and all that stuff really is a good, producer of content. What is it like writing when you're happy?
yeah, it's very strange, and I would say, happiness, who's happy all the time?
Well,
Anybody who
nobody.
says they are, exactly. You got to have a little peak and valley, otherwise one's not going to mean anything. And
Right.
hopefully we lean a little bit more to the happy and we're content most of the time. But I have found that in my kind of like couple years of gratitude, I'm able to write about that, I'm
Mm-hmm.
able to write about good times. I'm able to write about, uh, you know, certain things that I've learned, uh, whatever they mean to anybody else. You take it however you want it.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite writers in the world, Patty Griffin, in one interview I was reading of her, she said, you never know what a song is going to be for people until you put it out there. And once you put it out there, it's not yours anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, because you don't know how people are going to take it. And that has been my experience. And
Mm-hmm.
I love that because it makes it less about me and more
Yeah.
about the connection.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So I like to write that kind of thing. I'll tell you a funny story because I know you also, one of your earliest interviews, I think, was Miles Zuniga.
Mm-hmm.
And Miles and I have an interesting relationship when we write together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've got a cut on the next Fastball album that's coming out that he and I wrote. And he's like, hasn't anything bad happened to you in the last 3 years? I mean, he literally said that to me. And he was like,
I believe it.
can
I
you
believe it.
please write something? He's like, everything is too general. And he's also has no problem being,
He is
he's
very
like,
direct.
yeah, he's very, Sophia on the Golden Girls. I always liken my people to which Golden Girl they are.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
it's very easy because you know how people used to always do that with Sex in the City, and they say, "Oh, she's a Samantha and she's a
Yes.
this." I'm always like, no, 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 no. She's a Sophia and she's a Blanche and he's a, everybody always wants to be um,
Dorothy.
Sophia.
Oh,
Yeah, but Dorothy is
she's the
usually,
bomb. I love
she's
her.
the shit. I love Dorothy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, so
Back
Miles
to
said that, and he
Miles.
was like, he said we gotta write, some dark stuff. And so I dug deep and I went back and I was like, okay, I got it. I got you. Of course, we wrote a song called "The Island of Me," and
Oh, I know that song.
and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and he just, man, he's like, happy songs are easy. And I was like, how come you're the only person who says that? Nobody else says that. No
Yeah.
one says happy songs are easy. He's the only person in my life who said that and cracked me
Yeah.
up. I was like, okay, all
Yeah.
right, man. But he's so good. So
You can't really argue with that guy.
no, I
You
like the challenge
gotta
too.
like him.
And
Yeah. And I think it's important to have people. I mean, he's a really good representative of the fact that it's probably really good for you to have someone like that pushes you because we all tend to have our lane and have what we like and maybe also comes easy and just so it's good to have a Sophia.
oh yeah,
It's good to have one of each of the
very
Golden
much.
Girls in our lives.
Uh-huh. You absolutely do. You need somebody there who's just like unconditional love, but might not always get it. I think that's probably me. A little bit dense sometimes,
Yeah.
but yeah. And you need somebody who's not afraid to go to the dark side immediately, which is your Blanche, you know.
Yeah.
And you need somebody who puts it all together,
Yeah.
you know, which is your Dorothy. So,
What about
uh,
the roses of the world?
yeah, yeah.
They're,
Well, I think that. Oh no, yeah, yeah. That's what I mean. Rose is Betty White, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably a Rose,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm the one that everybody gets with jokes Like I'm such an easy target,
Uh-huh.
gullible,
Okay. Easy
to a
laugher.
fault,
Yeah.
loving, just like, not to mention want everybody to like me. Otherwise, we wouldn't be
Yeah.
doing this.
And you're a good pizza orderer too. You order
Yeah,
some
so I was
good
ordering
pizza.
some pizzas for my 94-year-old Scottish grandmother's pizza party that's upstairs right now. We're probably going to hear it soon. Once they get a couple of glasses of wine, we're going
I
to
know,
hear
and
it.
I feel like the doorbell's gonna ring soon with the pizza. Yeah,
Probably,
that'll have it. But that
probably. Although
makes
it
it
was
cool.
zero contact, so I should probably warn my wife that
You
it
should
is
text
zero
her.
contact. I'm
Yes.
gonna right now.
Yeah, you should do that.
I'm gonna say, honey, don't forget it's zero contact. Don't forget it's zero contact
Although you are in
pizza.
Canada and they're so nice and sweet up in Canada, I'm surprised that they don't
At the door? Or tell
have a
you that
little
your
like,
pizza's, well, they do text you and say your pizza's on the way, which is
which
just
is
lovely.
very Canadian.
Yeah. It's very Canadian, you
The
know.
bacon in
Um
Canada, do they call bacon in Canada just bacon or do they call it Canadian bacon, the round?
well, yeah, there's Canadian bacon, which is different, and then there's bacon, and they just started doing that years ago so that people wouldn't get confused, and because some people like the other thing, you
Yeah,
know. Canadian bacon is just like a big thick slice of ham,
it is
you
pretty
know.
much. Yeah,
It is, but there's other stuff here that's much more, especially on Vancouver Island,
yeah.
um where we live, where my wife was born and raised. It's the salmon capital of the world.
How often are you guys eating salmon? I can have it every day. Do you eat it a
Much as
lot?
we want, much
Yeah.
as we want. I mean, it can get expensive because sometimes they'll make more money if they ship it out, so they make it pricey here.
Mm-hmm.
But like our neighbors, oh man, one of my neighbor is like a salty dog. He was a ship captain for years. I know he's got some stories,
Nice.
and his name's Richard, and every once in a while he'll give us a couple of canisters of salmon that we use for sandwiches and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
how growing up in the Midwest we'd have like tuna fish sandwiches. You get it from a can and you make a
Yes.
tuna fish sandwich. We
Yes.
make salmon fish sandwiches.
Ooh, that sounds
So
really good.
good,
The mayonnaise.
so
I'm a
good.
mayonnaise girl. Do the
Ah, not me. I like it in things like that, but I like it in small doses.
okay.
Lot of mayonnaise means a lot of sick.
Oh,
Little
really?
mayonnaise means I'm very happy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
Hey, to
particular. What
each
can
his
I
own.
say?
More for me.
But we also candy salmon, and so it's kind of like a
I've had
jerky.
that. Yes,
Oh
I've
my
had
god,
that.
it's so good! It's so good! It's so good! It's so good! And
Yeah.
then there's like 8,000 ways to do it on like a plank, no pun intended. When we do it on the grill or stuff. So
You just take your guitar and you turn it sideways.
I just turn my guitar sideways, exactly. Well, I should apologize too for this mess here, but we we finally got to a point where we're turning the downstairs into a my studio and then a guest room over here.
Oh,
And
nice.
so I'm in this beautiful basement with an incredible view that you can't see right now, that looks out on the water and looks out
Oh,
on
wow.
Quadra Island, and I get to watch the ferry go back and forth, and behind that is the mountains and the mainland, and it's crazy. But we're so lucky. But that's why, I just got off of like 2 months on the road,
Yeah.
literally.
Well,
I've
it's
been
okay. Yeah. I like it's okay when there's a little bit of stuff going on in the background. You got stuff, you have some stuff
It's
going
a lot
on.
of guitar stuff.
It's a lot of
Finally
guitars.
got finally got most of my guitars up here. I still have a lot in Texas, and I will keep them there because it's always going to be the other home.
Yeah.
You
How
know,
often? So let's this episode. So we are filming this the day before Thanksgiving here in this country.
mm. Merkin Thanksgiving.
And this episode is going to air on the 29th of November, which is the perfect time to remind people and let people know about your Texas surprise that's coming. So you
Oh
have 4
yeah.
days. So I was writing it down. So I love it because this works out really well timing wise. So December 1st, you're going to be in Galveston.
Old
December
quarter.
2nd, you're going to be in Houston. On the 3rd, you're going to be in Dallas, and then you're going to finish it up on the 4th here in Austin with the Resentments at the Saxon Pub.
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to make it back to Texas at all until March because of touring and because of how much I'm doing, um, being on the road. But Ruthie Foster's people called me and they said, would you do a couple of openers for her at
Yeah.
Kessler and Heights? And we're old pals and I love her. And it's also a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah.
Someone who doesn't have as big of an audience. She's got a brand new record. She just got her star at the Paramount the other night, a couple nights ago. I wish I could have been there.
Hmm.
And uh, so I said, well, I'll just try and book a couple of gigs around it. The Resentments is easy. If I'm in town, they let me play.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I've, I mean, really, I joined the Resentments a long time ago. And I remember telling Bruce, I was like, most of the year I'm going to kind of be in Canada now. And he's like, no, it's fine. And I was like, you guys don't want to find anybody else? He goes, no, we're good. And I said, okay. And I was like, I mean, really, I might only be here sometimes like 3 or 4 times a year. And he said, yeah, there was one year I played with Jason Mraz and I was only
Yeah.
here once.
Yeah.
And so he did a whole year where he was only there once and they didn't kick
Yeah.
him out. So I don't feel so bad.
I
So
think
if
it's
I'm
like the
if I'm in,
perfect band. You guys don't even, I mean, the whole deal with that band is like you don't practice. It really is its own just come together kind of thing. So for me, that makes perfect sense. Like that it's the
yeah,
perfect band for you to be in.
Stephen Bruton was a genius in that it can't break up because it's not a band.
'Cause you're not-
All bands break up.
Yeah,
Everyone. They eventually, even the Beatles broke up.
sure.
So every band breaks up. So, eventually. Um, and the no rehearsing thing, I mean, it's just so not a thing I would be into. But much like Lonely Land, because Bob getting Lonely Land was totally from his relationship with Bruton and saying you should get a residency where you try out stuff every week and you'll
Hmm.
keep your band tight and you'll try out songs on an audience that loves you no matter what you do and you'll
Hmm.
make money.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant, and he's the only person I know that's really taken Steven's kind of idea and then kept with it.
Right.
Because Resentments were a few years before Lonely Land, like maybe 4 or 5 years more,
Yeah.
as a residency. It's really smart. And, I had a new song that I brought in, and a lot of times I'll go in there and I'll play it for those guys. And sometimes the first way we play it when they've never heard the song is
Mm.
the way that song kind of ends up.
Oh, cool.
It doesn't always happen that way, but it's crazy because I'll just start playing and maybe get through a verse and a chorus before everybody's in.
Hmm.
And we're all just listening and playing by ear.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, it's like, oh, that's the way that goes. And
Yeah.
it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. I feel lucky.
It kind of it's really cool because music is a language, and for people that don't play music, and don't read music and don't understand the progressions and the chords and the
Yeah,
numbers, right? And so when you know the math or when you know the language, it's kind of like dancing as the girl. Like you don't really have to know what you're doing, which is kind of frustrating because it feels so counterintuitive. You just have to
sure.
follow, and you just have to like throw it away enough to just trust that you know what you're doing. Like, does that make sense? It feels like
I mean,
I
if you
love
know the
that.
language, you're absolutely right. And I definitely think there's parallels in things like dance and poetry and
Yeah.
other things as well, where you get to know this language. A lot of people say like music theory and stuff
Mhm.
is like math, and for me, it's like grammar. And I'll
Mhm.
tell you why. Because it's like when I'm talking to you right now, I am not thinking noun, adjective, preposition. We learn those things, we learn how to talk, and then we throw it away.
Mhm.
Well, when I'm playing, I'm not thinking E minor major seven, scale to the 2 5 1. It's gone.
Right.
I may have to, jog my memory with it when I'm what I mean, almost never when I'm playing do I think about those things.
Right.
If I did, then I don't think it would be very fun. I
Right.
like those things. And it's also the same in that you can learn to speak and learn to have a conversation and never take an English class. You just live in a society. And music is the same way in that you can learn to speak and you can learn to play and never learn any theory and
Mm-hmm.
be,
Yeah.
having more words doesn't mean you have more to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like it as grammar. I liken it to grammar more than I do to math. It
Yeah.
feels more like that.
I get, yeah, that makes sense to me. Um, it's just so fascinating, and I think the resentments are the example of that when you go and watch a show, which I have many times seen you guys play. Um, and just seeing there's this real, maybe it's because you're all speaking the same language, maybe it's because you've played each other for a long time, maybe it's because um you know whatever, it just feels like it's the example of what trust and, I don't know, just like you guys are the net, and then it's just
Yeah,
like you can just do really whatever you want, and to be
yeah.
able to sit and watch that and see what happens and kind of feel like, even though when we know you guys are just kind of fucking around, and which is often sometimes, especially like in between or while you're waiting for Miles to
That's for
tune
sure.
because he's
Oh
constantly
yeah.
tuning. um but yeah, it's just such a great, so for people that haven't gone and seen you guys on Sunday nights at 7:30, I think at
Yep.
Saxon Pub,
Yep. Saxophone.
um at least a handful, 1 to 3 of you will be there at any
Yeah.
given time,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
just
But
neat to see.
I think that you're right about it being trust. And then I also think it's right. Maybe abandon is the word because we
Mhm.
could just do anything. And
Yeah.
that's a mixed blessing for anyone in Austin because here's the thing.
Mm.
When you are in Austin, of all the places I've ever lived in, all the places, and I lived in Austin, 20 years,
Mhm.
all the places I've ever lived and been and played, it's a cliche to say Austin audiences are different. They kind of are. Okay. And they kind of are because it is in, and this is more of a Texas thing, but definitely in Austin and the Hill Country. It is in the culture to see live music. It is encouraged. When a kid, guy or girl, anybody gets a guitar and says, I'm going to start writing songs, everybody's like, oh, cool.
Mhm.
That's great. I look forward to hearing what you do. Oh, great. I mean, more often than not, it's encouraged,
Mhm.
um, no matter what side of the aisle you're on or anything. And that's pretty beautiful. Also, I can play 3 gigs in a week and see 5 to 10 people that are at all of those gigs. Okay, so
Mhm.
they want to hear stuff that I'm trying out. They want to see me. Don't care if I mess up. They're
Mhm.
excited about hearing the same song solo that they heard with this band, and then they heard it with my band, and then they heard it with the Purgatory Players, all those kind of things.
Mhm.
The double-edged sword, or the flip side of that, better way to put it, the flip side is Austin people get out of Austin. My friend Yogi, the late bass player, just lost him about a year and a half ago. He used to call it Austinitis because you'd get out of Austin and you'd be on stage and you'd be playing your list of songs and you'd be looking around at everybody going, "Hey, what do you want to do now?" And the people in the audience don't get it, and they're like, "I paid $25 to see them do their homework. This sucks." They
Mm.
don't get it. It's the only time they're going to see you. And so a lot of the Austin bands, when they get out of town, they don't make it a show.
Mm.
They don't realize that those people are there to see them like once a year.
Polished and perfected.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even mean it. I mean, polished, sure. Maybe just not dicking around,
Yeah,
messing
and
around.
not loose, like just really tight and like this is what we came to see, and yeah,
Yeah, like go out and hit them with 3 songs before you start
before
talking
you
and
start
joking.
talking.
Before you start like, whatever. Like
Yeah,
let them at least know what you're all about before you tell them your life story. And I
that's
was
good
this
advice.
well, I was guilty. I was guilty of it, and I'm definitely guilty still of, as you may tell from this interview, I'm not afraid to talk
No, I
to a
love it.
fault.
You make it easy for me. I love it.
They'll never shut up. It's funny, when I joined the Resentments, I never talked.
Oh, really?
And Bruce and the other guys, before the song that I played, they go, I'd be ready and I'd get ready to play my song and I'd be a little bit nervous, and Bruce would be like, "Hey Jeff," and I'd look up from my shoes and he'd be like, "What's this song about?"
Tell us a story.
I mean, really? And then we'd have jokes, we'd make fun of each other, and it made me so loose. But they
Yeah.
kind of created a monster, because now I love telling stories, and I think I'm funnier than I am, and tell jokes. And
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
nah, it's endearing, I hope.
Yeah, of course. Hey,
It's honest.
it got you on here. I love it. I think it's great. Let's talk a little bit about before let's talk a little bit before we have to land this plane and say
Yeah.
goodbye. Um, Obviously your instrument that you play, I feel like I could hand you any instrument, whether or not you've even ever seen it. You just seem like a guy that just seems really solid and learned, and that you could play anything I put in your hands. Does that feel true?
No, I will say, anything that, like, I'm terrified of bows.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
really bad with a bow.
Okay.
But it takes a long time to get good. Also, like I love stringed instruments. I love fretted instruments. I even love fretless instruments. So I'm good at a bass, and I'm good at a ukulele, and I'm good at a upright, and I'm good at these kind of things. And I'm very fake it till you make it. If I'm in the studio and it's over there, I'll go, oh, maybe I could play this,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and I'll get a sound out of it,
Yeah.
and anything with keys. I'm kind of a beat it with your fists kind of piano player. I just started putting a lot more piano in the set. And I think my new album is probably going to have at least 3 or 4 piano tunes on it. So I'm bringing it out to
Awesome.
shows.
Great.
Yeah, but don't keep your expectations nice and low,
I'll aim really
and
low.
then you can enjoy it like I do and the rest of the audience. Um, but the one thing I will say is that somewhere along the line, my big brother was a musician. He was and he's 5 years older than me, and still does music. Lives in Austria, and when I was very, very young, he said, "You can play anything if you have enough time. There's nothing that you can't play.
Hmm.
Nothing." And I was just dumb enough to believe him.
Hmm.
And so I kind of went into it like, well, if you give me enough time, I'll learn to play whatever I want. I just have to practice it.
Hmm.
And I really believed that. And I know that that's not completely true, but it gave me a sense of excitement when I picked up pedal steel for the first time,
Right.
and started using knee levers and pedals and a volume pedal, and picking with this hand and sliding with this hand and going, ah. It's like,
Crazy.
no, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Um, but I love that. I also love it for writing. If you get stuck on a song, or you keep writing the same things, pick up another instrument, even if you can't play it. It
Yeah.
will make you pick different chords. It'll make you, like you say, that we stay in these lanes. It
Hmm.
takes you out of them.
Yeah.
You start making other choices. You start hearing things you wouldn't normally, like, oh wow. And then you bring it back to the other instrument, and you go, oh wow.
Oh, I
So
like
it's kind of
that.
fun.
So
Yeah.
many nuggets in this conversation, I think, for people that play music and that have their own thing going.
Well, that's good.
Really,
I've
really
had a lot of
valuable.
I've had a lot of people help me with such things, and I try and sponge them. A lot of people say stuff that hits me, and man, I just keep it forever.
Hmm.
Uh, so that's nice to hear.
I love it.
Yeah,
But your main
hopefully.
instrument is a lap steel. Is that what you call
Yeah.
it? A lap steel guitar? Or can you show us?
Yeah.
Because you hold it
Sure.
differently than like a acoustic or electric guitar. So can you just explain
Yep.
it to us?
Well, for
I had
years
never
I
seen
used to
anyone
play.
play. I had never seen anyone play like that until you. I was just like, whoa, this is insane.
Well, for years people would ask me to play dobro, which is the
Hmm.
one that's got the hubcap in it, right?
Hmm.
Looks like a hubcap in rock bands, and I just thought it sounded awful because I could never get it loud enough. So I went to a luthier, which is a fancy name for a guitar builder, and I said, "What I want you to do is I want you to just take a lap steel neck, so it's square. You can't play it like a regular guitar. You can't
Okay.
fret it. You have to put the slide on the strings. This is out of tune too. All right? So you have to
Yeah.
lay the string on. But I said put a lap steel neck and then put electric guitar parts and then keep it kind of hollow so it reverberates and make the body like a dobro so that I can stand up. Because if I'm going to engage the crowd, I'd see people like Ben Harper, who I really dig.
Yeah.
But when he plays lap, he has to sit down.
Right.
Well, I don't want to sit down. Like, I don't jump around the stage like a fool. I'm kind of a shoegazer, but I still want to be able to interact with my band. And
Yeah.
I also feel like if I'm sedentary and sitting all the time,
Yeah.
then, you know, then it gets a
So,
little bit old for me,
so you had that built just for you, and then so is it what you play is kind of like one of a kind in your own thing,
Well,
or
yeah, I mean, it is my own thing. There are similar guitars out there that are kind of like it. Like when I started playing solo acoustic, I
Mhm.
found these guitars, and I have one of these here, and I have one of them in Austin, and it's a Wahoo, which is a square neck as well, but it's got an acoustic body, and it's a high quality Hawaiian instrument from the 40s, made in Cleveland. Not kidding, they made them in Cleveland. And what I
Wow.
love about it is I get to use the same tunings I use on the Plank guitar, which I didn't name, by the way. It's really good for bluegrass. It's good for rock and roll. It's really good for pretty stuff. And it's really good for blues. But
Wow.
when I got this so that I could play acoustic shows that way. But the Plank, I've tried having a couple of different luthiers make them,
Mhm.
and tried my hand at having a guitar company, and it was a nightmare. It
Yeah.
was really, really bad. Yeah, it was really, really hard. There's a guy named Will Knack who plays in Blue October right now,
Mhm.
and he plays one, and he does really great with it. He's also going out on the road with a really, really, really big country act. He sent me a picture, or no, he posted a picture of him playing the Plank in a giant stadium. What's that guy's name? Anyway, and then there's another guy who has one who plays in a jam band that's kind of like adjacent to Jack White people. His bass player, Dominic, told his jam band friend, man, you should get one of these because then you could play dobro. The dobro players love it, like from bluegrass, because
Yeah.
they can just plug it into an amp and use all their pedals and rock out. And
Yeah.
the pedal steel players love it because, well, they can just stand up. They don't have to
Right.
sit down anymore. And
Yeah.
then the electric guitar players love it because it works like an electric guitar. And basically, the only thing you're going to have to learn how to use that's different is your slide. And that's it.
Mhm.
So it's my namesake, and I love it. Someday I wish I could find another luthier to make them, because a lot of people ask me, hey, I want to buy one. And I'm like, I have two. Well, I have three. I have the original one from like 2001. And then I have one here and one in Texas as well that I
Yeah.
use for gigs.
I would think that there are a lot of people that would like to be able to, replicate that guitar and and have one themselves.
It would be cool. And I love hearing people use them because they think of things I never would.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
second I heard Will Knack on it, I was like, this is great. Like he's doing stuff I never thought of.
Hmm.
And it was the same thing with the kid from Steppin' in It. Kid, I don't know. He's probably 40 by now. What's a kid to be? Who knows? Yeah. So, I
I
mean, but
love,
nowadays my set is really, 10 years ago when I started playing solo gigs, it was really like electric guitar for about a third of the set, and 2/3 of the set I'd be playing the Plank. Now it's like three songs on piano, some acoustic guitar, some acoustic slide, some plank, some electric guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to have a really, especially because I'm playing more festivals,
Mm-hmm.
I like to have really varied shows, you know.
Yeah.
I like to
Yeah.
have lots of high energy and peaks and valleys and
Mm-hmm. Yeah. People
yeah.
like that, keep them guessing. Well, good. So so you're doing very beginning of December, like I said, the 1st through the 4th in 4 different cities here in Texas, which is awesome. And then you're not stopping there. You are on the road still from there. I saw dates like in Montana, or where did I
And
see it?
Wyoming. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
Wyoming.
do just a quick run. I love Montana people, and they're very unique. And I'm gonna do one other gig in Wyoming. I was just there, and I had this place that I sold out called Jimmy's Roadhouse, and it's a wonderful gig. And I was like, "Would it be too soon to come back in December?" And he's like, "Well, what about the snow?" And I was like, "I don't care. Like, I'm tough, you know, like I can drive in snow. I grew up in Michigan and Ohio. I know how to drive in snow. Knock wood. I'll be careful."
Yeah, please.
And I don't take any extra risks. Slow and steady wins the race for those of you who are ever going to get out on the road. Slow and steady.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I have a number of places I really love to play in Montana, so I'm going to just fly up there for about 4 days and do Livingston, Cody, Wyoming, Red Lodge, Montana, and Billings, Montana. Then I get a break.
Okay, good. I was just in Montana.
Where were you?
I took my son. So I have a tradition when a kid turns 13, they get a surprise trip with me where I pack a bag
Ooh.
and show up at school and take him just to the airport. Um, but COVID ruined that trip 2 other times. So he's 15 now. And this
No.
was the third time of me scheduling a whole new trip. And I was like, come hell or high water, we are going on this
We're
trip. So
doing it.
I picked I picked Yellowstone
Oh
National
yeah.
Park. So we flew into West Yellowstone, which is the most precious little airport.
Oh
You
yeah.
can only get there
I
through
haven't been to
Salt Lake
that
City.
airport yet.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's fantastic. And then we spent a couple days in the park, and then we went up to Big Sky
Oh
and stayed up
nice.
there. And then our favorite part was a day trip to Bozeman, and I bought the coolest shirt, like awesome Bozeman shirt. And it's such a joke because every time I wear this Bozeman shirt, no joke, like at least 5 people will come up to be like, hey Bozeman, hey, my
Yep.
mom lives there, I love Bozeman. It is fantastically. Henry and I, that's my son, we're
Yeah.
like, hey, we always have Bozeman. Like,
I love that.
the best. We loved Montana. In fact, he was like, I could really see myself, like, because he's such a chill artist,
They are
quiet.
so chill.
He's like, I could see myself like being a park ranger and just living in Montana or maybe living in
Oh,
Bozeman.
I
It
love
was life
Bozeman too.
changing for him.
I played Bozeman the last time I was there at a place called Live from the Divide, and it's a really incredible little room
Oh,
and
cool.
just amazing. Yeah,
I
Bozeman's
just
great.
love it. I can't wait to go back now that I feel like, I'll definitely go back to Bozeman and maybe in the snow or something just to get that. It's such a sweet little small town kind of feel. And yeah, anyway, well, good. Enjoy yourself in Montana because now we love everything Montana. Like, I get little
Nice.
feeds, how the algorithm works. So since I went to Montana, now I get like suggestions to go back to Montana.
You'll be getting them. You know, it's like you think it, and then all of a sudden it's in your Instagram. But
Shows up. Yeah, it's so
yeah,
funny. Well, good. I could talk to you forever. This is so much fun, and I'm so happy that you could come on and we found a time to work it out.
me too.
Um, yeah, I'm gonna try to come see you on the 4th at the Saxon Pub with the Resentments. That will be really fun to meet you
Sounds
in
great.
person. Yeah. Um, yeah, thank you for coming on. And
My thanks to you, and thanks for doing this. It's a good thing to do for Austin artists and for artists for everywhere. So I'm sure you'll eventually, you know, maybe go
expand
outside. You never know.
franchise. Yeah,
Yeah,
the Nashville Downbeat.
or whatever. Who knows?
Or
You'll add in
the
Houston.
Bozeman
Yeah,
Downbeat.
Bozeman. That'd be really cool. I know some great musicians up there, that's for sure.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I did actually structure it that way so it could be templative to like, if and when I expand and do all that because there's so many great, there's great
There's
musicians.
so many scenes.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I just think that it's so important that like I just love people that do what they're passionate about, and I love like
No
people
matter
like
what it
you. I
is.
I just yeah, like I just think it's important for people to see behind the scenes and what life is like, and to have to see these conversations and hear these conversations, because it's one thing to go to a concert and see someone on stage and you get what you're supposed to get from them as a musician, but I also think that there's so much value in having a conversation with you
I
guys.
mean, you never get to see all this.
It
You
was
know?
so funny. You're you're talking about your wife and how like,
Yeah.
plant lady, and I see
Oh
no
yeah.
plants, zero plants behind you.
Oh no, you got to go upstairs. Okay, so right now we have none down here. I mean, I live in a jungle. I
I like
live in
her.
a jungle. Oh
Ooh.
yeah, no, she's the shit. And and it's funny too, because like think about one last thing, and I'll let you go on this. My wife went one year. I was like, "Honey, what do you want for your birthday?" And she goes, "Dirt." And I said, "Oh, ha ha ha." He's like, "No, I really need some dirt." And I was like, "Well, what else do you want?" And she goes, "Rocks." You know. And it's like, I mean, did I win the jackpot of like, what do I have to get her to make her happy?
Oh my God, dirt
You
and
know,
rocks. Did you write a song
pretty
about
much.
that? I feel like you could
Oh,
write a
that's a good one. That's
song
a good
about
one.
this.
That would be lovely.
I
Yeah, you never know. I
mean,
might have to give you a co-write on that.
sweet.
You
I
make
could
tens of dollars.
text me. I'll send you some ideas.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Kat.
Awesome, Jeff. Thanks so much for stopping by. I will try to see you in person, and I will shout from the rooftops of when you're playing, and so people can come and see you.
I
All right.
appreciate it. Thank you.
My pleasure. All right. Thanks for joining us again, and we will see you next time. Bye.